The pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a guest this morning in our audience, Pastor Nathan Heck from the Turning Point Nazarene Church. If you would come up and grace us with an opening prayer, sir.
Absolutely. Let's bow our heads. Father, we come before you now. We thank you for this day. We thank you for your protection over us and everything that's going on. Lord, we just lift this day to you. We lift each and every one of those that are in this position of service. And Lord, we just ask that you give them wisdom, direction, encouragement, and understanding as they make decisions to help us and protect us, Lord. We thank you again for the blessings that you continue to bestow upon this county and everyone in it, Lord. We give today to you. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you. Let's move on to approve our agenda, gentlemen. Any corrections or changes? I do reserve the right, I've been informed our health department has an important 11 o'clock conference call, so if I might have to move her up and down on the agenda just a little bit to make that work for her. Any other?
I'll move to approve the agenda, Mr. Chairman, as is published.
Thank you.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is carried. Chair comments. We're getting down to the short rows again on our consensus. So if you have not, and I'm sure everybody has, please get that consensus in. I think we have about a week to go. So thank you for that. Consent agenda. All in favor of that one?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, for public comment, I am going to hold back and then ask Darlene Lucas to come forward, please. A lot of you do not know that Darlene has moved on professionally from Finney County. And so we have a plaque here. The Board of County Commissioners thanks Darlene Lucas. What are you giggling about? For your years of service. And commitment.
I'll take that, yeah. That's hard-earned for both of us. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, it's been a
Everything
pleasure.
you've done. Did you want to make a comment?
You know what? Don't give me a mic, because you know I can stay up here all day.
Public comment, anything from the audience that is not on our agenda that you need to bring to our attention? I see the mayor. Good morning, Troy.
Good morning. Good morning, Commissioners. So I just want to say, this is very nice. So I need to get something like this at the city.
We're trying to keep up with
No, are you kidding me? We have we're not even. We're working now. So. Well, I just want to say a couple of things. First of all, I really want to say thank you for the online meetings. It's really been nice to be able to watch the commission meetings online. And so I really wanted to say thank you for that. I like coming in person and being here. You guys look really good on TV, being the TV stars now, YouTube and Facebook TV stars. I also just want to mention the Sparks funding. I know that the city has submitted our Sparks funding. We've also submitted a lot of requests to DOJ, the Department of Justice, and also to FEMA. But I know our city is, we have really been judicious in the amounts that we have submitted. And so I just want to make sure, I don't know who the committee is. And so that's something I'd be interested in, and that might come up later on in the meeting. But I just want to make sure that, knowing that we as a city were very careful about our Sparks funding and made sure that we submitted those ones that were specifically for. There's lots of things that we as a city did that we knew that we were being part of that team and paid for. And so I just want to make sure and just thank you for the work that you're doing and the continued work. Also to invite you to next month, I want to get it on your calendars because I know we're all busy. The State of the City will be giving a speech, but it's going to be going it's going to be 1 week earlier to make sure and coincide with some things. So with that, I just want to say thank you, and I'm excited about that. And we're excited about the work that's happening here in Finney County. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Troy. Any further from the audience that'd like to speak? All right, let's move into our discussion on the medical and dental renewal. I understand we have somebody in the audience. Jayla?
Yes.
There you go. Okay.
I believe Ryan is online.
And Ryan,
Are you online, Ryan?
Ryan, are you there? Let's let our techie people get to work here for a little bit.
Yeah, it says he's there, so.
Okay.
He's there. I trust he's there. So, good morning, commissioners. Nice to meet you. My name is Jayla Miller. I am the benefit consultant with IMA for Finney County. My colleague Ryan Powell, who is on the phone, there he is, connecting, is also a consultant for Finney County. And we're here to deliver the recommendations for the 2021 medical and dental benefits. In your packet, there was a PowerPoint presentation that we provided, but I'll run through that pretty quickly here. So on the medical and dental renewal this year, we are seeing an overall increase of 1.7%. That is comprised of a 10.8% increase to the fixed costs, so admin and stop-loss fees with Blue Cross Blue Shield of Kansas, as well as a 0.1% increase to expected claims cost. All of that flushes out to be that 1.7%, an overall increase of approximately $80,000. The reason we are seeing the increase on the stop loss is last year we had 3 individuals who met the individual stop loss level of $125,000. Over that, Blue Cross Blue Shield picked up their claims amounts as part of that stop loss, but that is why we're seeing that increase, and as well as an addition of 3% in admin costs with Blue Cross Blue Shield. There were trend factors applied to your renewal this year. We had a 6.5% trend factor applied to the medical, a 14.9% trend factor applied to pharmacy, and dental trend was a 6.1%. The majority of that trend is based on price increases for medical and pharmacy cost overall. We're just seeing that happen in the market. We ran a projection as IMA on your expected claims factors and agree with what Blue Cross has come to the table with, and so we recommend funding at 100% of expected this year. Any questions on that so far?
Quick question, Jayla, and for those online, this is Lon. You said a 3% increase in the administrative costs.
Correct.
Is 2 parts to my question. First of all, is that what you're seeing with other carriers as far as administrative costs?
Mm-hmm.
And if the amount of the premiums are going up, are they not getting an increase in their administrative costs at their current percentage? Kind of a 2-part question.
Yeah, absolutely. So across the board, we typically see Blue Cross gives a 3% increase on their admin fees year over year. I went back and looked at some of your past renewals, the past few years, you have received that 3% in their admin fees. The additional, so of that 10.8%, 3 is split into that admin fee for Blue Cross, and it's a 7.8% increase on the stop loss fees. So that's how those 2 combined. So we did ask Blue Cross to give us a concession this year on the 3% admin fees. However, part of your contract with Blue Cross allows for 80% of the pharmacy rebates to come back to the plan. And Blue Cross administers those back to the plan through that admin fee. And so when they did all of the math and flushed out what they anticipated the pharmacy rebates to be, they felt that 3% was fair, and so that's why they did not provide a concession this year.
Yeah, and just to make my position clear, I'm not against a vendor making money. I'm not against someone, covering their costs and making some profit. But it just seemed like with inflation being less than 2% and so forth, that was more substantial increase.
Yeah, yep, and we fought and argued for that, and Blue Cross still came back with that position that they felt it was fair increase on the admin costs.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You ready for another question?
Sure.
This is on your proposal.
Mhm.
On page 2, there's a chart. I don't know if you pull that up.
Yes.
You've got it on your, explain that a little bit. to
Yep.
me.
Absolutely. So we did additional benchmarking a couple of different ways. First of all, on page 2 is a national trend. So we looked at Siegel Consulting Firm. They are a national consulting firm that annually takes in healthcare claims data. The information that they pull in accounts for approximately 80% of commercial plans across the United States. The Siegel trend we're seeing right now is a 6.9% average, meaning every year they're seeing that linear trend of healthcare costs increase up on that 6.9% level. When we looked at how Finney County compares to that Siegel trend, you're relatively flat year over year in that it is a 1.7% trend average. So the plan consistently performs very well and consistently performs right around that 100% expected costs.
So that means that we're doing better than the average is what you're saying?
Correct, yes.
Okay. Well, it's a widening gap according to your chart.
It is a widening gap. So we are seeing nationally, and as I said, there was a 6.5% trend and a 14.9% trend on medical and pharmacy applied. We're seeing that affect companies across the nation in greater numbers because of those price increases. However, you all have, as Finney County has continued to kind of buck that trend. You're able to perform relatively well, even while we're seeing some of those few increases in costs. And expected claims might be down in 1 year or something to that effect.
Good.
Mr. Chairman. Jayla, one other question I forgot to ask when I had the microphone before is you mentioned the 3 cases, the 3 employees that went over the stop loss of $125,000. How does that factor into our experience going forward, and does that carry on for a couple of years or 3 years, or how does that affect us, not just for this 1 year?
Yep, absolutely. So those 3 stop loss hits came in so let me step back. Blue Cross Blue Shield looks at 32 months of data when they complete your renewal. And so those 3 stop loss hits happen in that middle period. So they look at the first 6 months of the plan, the first 12 months, so that would be 2019. And then the year prior to that. That middle period, so 2019, would be weighted the most heavy in that renewal projection. And so that's where that
That's how
hit
we
in.
look forward, or going forward, would
So,
be kind of that same.
Yes, so the weighting will be much
Time-wise.
less next year for that
Right,
2019 plan.
But I mean, if they look at the 32 months.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Thank you.
One more question, Doctor?
Just, I don't see it in our renewal, but in the industry, there's sort of a COVID factor that's starting to creep into the insurance premiums?
Yes, so looking at and the very last page of this exhibit is your 2020 to date, how your plan is running. We did see a slight dip in claims cost in April and May that we can attribute most likely to COVID. People just weren't going out and going to the doctor to receive those services. And we're seeing that trend across our book of business. When we look nationally and when I look at your claims report, those claims have started to bounce back. Across our book of business, we're actually seeing that claims starting around July are actually close to where they were performing in the year 2019. So we're seeing that hit back. I have asked several Blue Cross reps what their philosophy is for underwriting related to COVID, and they have shared with me that they are underwriting based on experience only. So it is my understanding that Blue Cross is not adding anything additional into the renewals because of a loss of claims.
Thank you.
One more, Mr. Chairman, this is Dave for those online. In the last few days, a week or 10 days ago, I received from Blue Cross a little $30-some refund check for non-use of my dental. I'm not in the county plan, I fund my own, but apparently they're recognizing that some folks can't make it to the appointment, or the appointments are not available for some people, whatever.
Yes, so Blue Cross refunded April premiums on the dental this year because essentially all dentist offices were shut down, and people weren't able to get to the dentist. So across the board, Blue Cross has made the business decision to refund those April dental premiums.
And then I have one little follow-up, and I realize this is a political season, but I hear a presidential candidate say, well, he's doing great things on prescription costs, and they're gonna go down substantially. Is there any look at that in these plans that he in fact may be able to lower some of those prescription costs?
As far as I know, that was not considered. I think Blue Cross looked at the data that they had on hand and looked at trend as we know it and projected the renewal accordingly.
All right, thank you.
Okay, to go back to page 3, we completed one additional benchmarking summary this year, and we looked at how Finney County is doing compared to your Western Kansas peers. So IMA has a large chunk of business out here in Western Kansas, and we looked at all public entities, so that's school as well as municipalities. And really the story on this slide is that Finney County is performing very well compared to your peers. You have a very rich benefit package for the employee population. There were 2 areas where we saw Finney County be above the benchmark. One of them was on maximum out of pocket. However, that's not a concern because a lot of that is a function of, 1, the Affordable Care Act. That limit was set by the Affordable Care Act when it passed several years ago. And 2, that's how Blue Cross Blue Shield writes a lot of their plans. So they have to put their plans together and submit those to the state every year for approval. And oftentimes they set their maximum out of pocket at the $63.50, $12.7 level. A majority of our book of business, not just Western Kansas, but in Kansas in general, we see that they set their maximum out of pocket at that level. So that is not a place I have any concern with. Similarly, the other red arrow is on the total monthly premium for the single. It's only about $7 above benchmark. And this is based on your 2020 premiums. For 2021, that single premium actually goes down, and so you would be back within that benchmark for the 2021 plan year. So no concerns here, but essentially you look very well when we compare you to your peers from a recruitment and retention standpoint.
My question with regard to the benchmarking is those others that you're benchmarking us against, how many of those are partially self-funded versus fully insured through Blue Cross Blue Shield?
I believe that all of them are ASO with Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Okay.
There are a couple who are still grandfathered, so that's some of what's maybe skewing that maximum out of pocket. As a grandfathered plan, there is no maximum out of pocket that applies, so their total would be far less than what you guys have today. But I believe everyone that we benchmarked is ASO.
Okay, thank you.
I think that chart points out that our deductibles and co-insurance are considerably below.
Yes,
Or neighbors?
amazingly below. The industry standard is 500 for the beginning deductible.
Yeah, still a pretty rich plan.
Yes.
And then moving on to slide 4. So we have what we're calling the Blue Cross Blue Shield contracted premium tiers. So historically, Finney County has executed their contract with Blue Cross Blue Shield to where there are 2 tiers, a single tier and a family tier. And then once that contract is executed, Finney County has on their own created costs for an employee child and an employee spouse. So to the employee, they see that there are 4 options for them to choose from. Whereas on the backside, on the administrative side, there is only 2, the single and the family. So anyone enrolled currently in that employee child and employee spouse, for all intents and purposes to Blue Cross Blue Shield, they're currently enrolled in a family plan. For this year, we recommend that Finney County renews their plan with a 4-tier contract underwritten by Blue Cross Blue Shield. for several reasons. One, this spreads the cost out among the tiers a little bit more equitably based on, you know, a child does not cost as much on their own as maybe a spouse and a child as part of a family plan. And so the underwritten tiers acknowledge that, and so when we do the 4-tier system. Additionally, it allows us as IMA to do some data analytics that we have not previously been able to do. We can actually do some risk and health cost assessment based on those tiers, and they would be true to the Blue Cross reporting and numbers that we receive as IMA. And it takes away the administrative burden on the human resources staff to come up with those tier functions and then keep track of that in-house year over year. So we are recommending a 4-tier contract versus a 2-tier contract this year. On page 5 then, we move to the employee contribution. So for the last couple of years, the employee contribution has remained flat. For this year, we are recommending a modest increase of a $10 monthly increase to the employee premium to help offset the total cost of the increase this year. When we did the math and calculated it out on a bi-weekly basis, it would be less than $5 a paycheck for the employees to do that. Additionally, of the $80,000 increase, 36% of that would be picked up by the employees, while the remaining would be picked up by Finney County. And we saw this as a really nice compromise to allow both the employees as well as Finney County come together for a solution to fund that increase of $80,000 this year. Okay. Any questions on that?
You're doing a great job.
The 36%, is that, where's that been over the, you got a past history of that?
It would be $36,000 of the $80,000 increase.
Okay.
Yep.
I thought you said 36%.
I might have, but I meant dollars if I did.
Don't you?
Yes, what she meant. Yeah, no.
You can't read my mind? All right, very good. And so page 6, so all of this is to say, starting in 2021, we would like to put together then with this renewal a 4-year strategy that really focuses heavily on data analytics, cost containment, and aligning plan efficiencies. So for 2021, once we renew, we're looking to really hone in, especially now that we'll have those 4-tier rates that we can do some additional data analytics, really honing in on specific risk data, as well as cost data. We'd also like in the year 2021 to get some employee feedback on their entire employee experience, including their benefits package, just to help give us some additional direction in making sure that we're crafting a package that meets their needs where they're at today. And so that will be our focus in 2021 is heavily on data. For 2022, if the data tells us that there are any additional changes we need to make either to the benefit plan or things like adding an additional deductible plan right beside what you currently have today, the data then can lead us there and we'll focus on that implementation for 2022. All the while setting some baseline measures so that we're still leaving data in the forefront so we're making informed decisions every year that we go. From 2023 then, should there be any benefit changes, then we'll ensure that what we have done aligns appropriately with plan efficiencies, trying to keep you on that 1.7% trend, as well as just checking the market for due diligence, making sure that your plan is still one of the most competitive in the market. And lastly, leveling off with cost containment, making that a focus once we feel really good about the data and the direction that we're going. And so we'll look for those levers we can pull to help with any cost containment needs that are necessary moving forward. So it's very much a very high level look at where we want to take you guys strategically. We'll get more granular with this as we get more information and data, but 2021 is the start of a 4-year strategy we'd really like to focus on. And the remainder of this packet, so slides 7 through 9 or 10, I believe, are just, so slides 7 and 8 are the financial exhibits that IMA has put together for your renewal this year. On slide 7, we have total fixed costs and claims. So you can see on that very top with the gray is the 10.8% increase to the stop loss and admin fees. And then the blue bar in the middle is the 1.7% financial exhibit on 100% of expected costs. And then the next slide, on slide 8, just gives you an overview of the claims factors that Blue Cross Blue Shield underwrote this year, where they expect those claims to fall in at that 0.1%. Any questions there? Okay, we'll keep rolling. So slides 9 and 10 are an overview of the current benefits summary. So slide 9 is focused on the medical benefits, what is paid when employees actually go for point of service care for their health care. And then slide 10 is the same on the dental. We've laid out there the benefits there as well. And then the last slide, slide 11, is the financial budget exhibit for year to date, how Finney County is doing so far through data through January. So we'll be getting August data to Robert and team here in the next week or so. So that is all I have to present for you all today. Are there any additional questions I can answer?
Now's your chance, guys. Lon?
I don't know that I have one for Jayla, but the, what was it, 45,000 or 44,000 that the county would be picking up, that would come from the employee benefits fund, if you will. And what's in that fund?
As far as
Yeah, what's available in that fund?
we budgeted for that.
It was budgeted. Okay. Okay.
Okay, further questions?
What, if any, action, Mr. Chairman, do we need to take today?
You will need a motion to approve
The plan.
the plan as presented by Jayla. Correct? And I might pick on Ryan just a little bit. She'd let her do all the talking, Ryan.
Jayla did such a great job, I didn't have to say anything.
That's kind of what I was thinking. All right.
Yeah, she did a great job.
Excellent job.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, it's up to you.
We'll have to put a motion on the floor and then we can have some discussion if you want, Mr. Chairman. I would move that we accept the proposed adjustment as presented.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Questions, more comments?
Mr. Chairman, I have a comment. We started with IMA, I don't know how many years ago, 4 or 5.
Yeah, I believe so. Ryan was there from day
Yeah.
one, so.
At the time, it seemed like a significant cost, but today it looks like perhaps a significant savings in what you folks have done for us, so I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Robert, any comment?
It's great to work with you all.
Side on a motion?
No, I have no other comment.
All those in favor of the motion to approve the medical dental renewal plan as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. Jayla, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you all.
Thank you.
Who did second? I didn't.
Larry.
Larry.
Larry seconded. Yeah, I missed it too. Sorry, Larry, I'm falling down on
Hey,
John.
do I need to speak up, Dory?
Every once in a while.
She
I just-
counts on me to pick those up.
We're ready for the Spark Grant Program update.
So I get a demerit this meeting. So.
I am sure Jeff is on the line, so
I am, Commissioner. How are you?
good morning.
Jeff?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, I will turn it over to you, I think, Jeff.
Okay. So first, if I don't know if we've met publicly since the plan's been approved. So the plan has been approved. Finney County received some of the highest marks in the state of Kansas. So we're really proud to hear about that. This now gives you the ability to move forward with all of the direct aid programs. 2 are actually up on the website already, and there is one that will be launching later this week as well. It also gives you the ability to start paying out on those reimbursement items, and that's the documents that you should all have in front of you that indicates where we're recommending for reimbursement right now, what we're not recommending for payment, so that you can understand those pieces. And then also some of the items that we would recommend holding for now, given there's a technical piece, there's a funding item, you can see that all laid out. And then finally, I know the mayor's there from Garden City, working with Matt, getting some of the pieces submitted to FEMA for reimbursement, because they were the most appropriate realm there. And the team's been great to get that done with, so that we can make sure that we maximize the funding all throughout Finney County.
Okay,
So you should have that report in front of you. I just wanted to see if there are any questions with that 5-page executive summary.
has the agencies involved been notified of exactly what we're seeing? I'm sure they have, for denial or acceptance.
We've had conversations with them. We wanted to present this to you all first before there was any formal notifications.
Okay, excellent. I believe it would be appropriate, Jeff, if you would go through the approvals that you're recommending for public disclosure. And
Great. So on the first, we had submitted 2 reimbursements to the state of Kansas. And apologies, I know you're looking at me on the screen, and I'm going to look to my left a little bit because I have all my details on another screen as well. So it's not that I'm not trying to look into the screen.
that's fine.
The stuff that was initially submitted to the state of Kansas, it was $82,000. Of that, $72,938.66 for Finney County, and these were public health related expenditures, technologies, and other expenditures that were used to mitigate COVID-19. $9,836.07 went to Russell Childhood Development Center for technology and PPE. We recommended that they go through Spark for PPE just because while they are an eligible FEMA applicant, we were unsure if they were going to have the necessary dollars to reach the small project threshold. And it just, the juice was not worth the squeeze, if you will. Okay. Coming into, before you today, what we're recommending for payment is $249,427 for USD 363. And this is all for technology and online learning subscriptions. We're seeing nationally that FEMA is not paying for these items. So we are recommending to go and go after that through here. There's $649 for Catholic Charities of Southwest Kansas. This is for some public health related expenditures. The Finney County Convention and Visitors Bureau, $5,164.23 for some PPE. St. Mary's Catholic Church, $4,157.08 for technology hardware to facilitate distance learning. This is the big one. This is Garden City Public Schools, USD 457. There's technology upgrades and software to facilitate distance learning, $1,151,073.72. This was to, and again with Holcomb, it's just a smaller school population. These got devices one-to-one and had some online learning platforms that are there. The City of Garden City, we have $45,267.60. And these were mitigation costs, some staff costs for planning as it related directly to COVID. Then Garden City Community College, closing it out, $118,750. These are for kind of public health related expenditures and software for things that they already purchased. This does not include the network switch. I know we've talked quite a bit about that. We've already talked with them, and with the programs that are open, they should apply for that under the direct aid portion. This included some minor building, air handling changes, and some software and some other pieces within there that they had already expended. Things that we're not recommending for payment, again, that $501,000 for that network switch, it had not been purchased as of the reimbursement timeframe. So we are recommending that you don't reimburse that. We've already told them to apply for the agency operational relief grant. And that will be going from there. The Finney County Health Coalition, they didn't submit a dollar amount. So Finney County Health Commission, Another Look Salon and Spa, and I'm going to mispronounce the name, so I apologize in advance. Wallerston Family Dentistry.
Good job.
Close.
Good enough. Okay. Close. Okay. So on the Health Coalition, they were ineligible expenses, but they, stuff that they can look at under the agency operational relief grant. Another Look and the dentistry were not eligible for reimbursement under the program. They can apply for small business funding under the agency operational relief fund. St. Catherine's Hospital has requested $426,607. This for facility modifications. The cost hadn't been incurred yet, so just like with Garden City Community College, the agency operational relief grant, the grant programs that are out there for the direct aid purchases, can be they can go after here. Central Care for $29,5006 for PPE. We're not recommending that because they're not eligible. The City of Garden City for $23,722.21. We can't do the online utility fees are the foregone fees are not eligible under the CARES Act under Spark, and the other piece, leave pay, it could be potentially reimbursed, but we don't recommend this for payment because of compliance issues with CARES. So that's a big pot there. I've just flown through a bunch of stuff. Is there any questions thus far? I've got 2 more pages to go. Basically 4 other line items.
Jeff, I might point out that the ones that we have approved, you've recommended for approval is actual expenses that have to be recovered. And the other ones that have been denied, they are probably be accepted under the agency occupational relief side of this program. Is that correct?
To a great degree, correct.
Okay.
So it's just, most of the ones that are not recommended for payment, other than, program eligibility, there is a direct aid grant program, which just got released to support them.
Okay. I'll let you continue with the last couple of pages.
Comment?
Comment?
Great.
Jeff, Dr. Clifford here, the AOR has a $250,000 cap, so an entity like the community college looking for over $500,000 would request a waiver there, or is there some other opportunity?
And we've already been in contact with the college, and Mayor, seeing that you're sitting in the front row, we have been talking with Matt about it as well. It is a soft cap. They can request additional dollars past that as necessary. So that is definitely possible.
Thank you.
Okay. So there are other pieces, there's some additional questions that are out there from a funding perspective. YMCA Southwest Kansas and Ranch House Senior Living both had incomplete submissions. We've been trying to reach out to them, but there's been no response. So if they are still interested in pursuing that, we can definitely talk with them. the city of Garden City, there's a number of questions that are out here on different reimbursable items. It's about $1.9 million. The bulk of that is the $711,000 for the utility reimbursements. We've got to make sure that there's alignment with the state, and I want to get it in writing from the state that they would be comfortable from that piece. And then there's also the piece of, because it wasn't targeted, it was just 1 month for everybody. So we just need to make sure that the state is on board with that. And then Catholic Charities of Southwest Kansas, $1,925. They provided rental assistance for 2 families, and additional information is required to substantiate eligibility. This is one that could potentially come under the Household Emergency Relief Grant as well, as long as we identify additional hardship items. And then finally, the last piece that's in holding for FEMA funding, working with the city, there's about almost $46,000 of expenses that we've identified as eligible under FEMA reimbursement, and we've put these on hold, awaiting that determination. And I know Matt and Melinda and the team are working diligently to get that submitted. Okay, so that's an overall review of our recommendations. So from a high level, the $82,774.73 that was submitted to the state on the first reimbursement report, we recommend to pay out, and we recommend reimbursing $1,574,488.63 out to those eligible entities, including USD 363, Catholic Charities, the Finney County Convention and Visitors Bureau, St. Mary's Catholic Church, USD 457, the City of Garden City, and Garden City Community College. Those 2 recommendations, we've had everything substantiated, everything tucked in and squared away, and with the earlier approval of the state of Kansas this month, you are free to act upon that at your leisure.
All right, we have 2 approvals to discuss. We did approve.
And Jeff, you're saying that needs to be 2 separate motions, correct?
No, I think it can be one motion, Commissioner.
That's that's the way I would interpret it as well.
Questions for Jeff before we address this motion? Any further clarifications or questions? Hearing not, how about a motion to approve the reimbursements for the 800, or give me the number again, Jeff, total number?
So I have it broken out in 2 different ways. It's $82,774.73 for those that have already been approved, and it's $1,574,488.63 for those new reimbursement items.
Take it, Dory wrote that number down, so.
Yeah, and it's at the top of the page on the handout that we received this morning. And Mr. Chairman, I won't repeat those numbers again, but based on those numbers that Jeff just recited, I would move that we authorize those reimbursements.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Further discussion?
I would just simply, not discussion, but just point of information. I was in a meeting with Jeff and staff last Wednesday where we went through some of this, and they were asking what format should it be in, and Jeff, I appreciate the format this came to us this morning. So it falls right in line with what I think helps us understand why is something not being recommended for reimbursement, why are things being recommended for reimbursement.
Good, I'm glad to hear that, Commissioner. Thank you.
Further discussion or comments?
We have time for questions about the other part of the program.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. These are approved. Larry, you brought up a question.
Jeff, on your other submissions for household assistance and small business assistance that just got posted,
Yes, sir.
are you receiving much interest in that yet?
We have, I don't have that number right off the top of my head in terms of how many that we have received, but we have certainly made contact with a number of people that we've spoken with previously as it relates to those grant programs being out there, and that they are fully and completely available.
I guess and my next question is for Robert. Have you got contacted somebody to handle these locally?
Yes, we have. We've reached out to the Convention and Visitors Bureau to assist us in this project. You'll see an agreement, an MOU within the packet for your consideration. It was a document crafted by Parametries. And then once we get the approval with that, Jeff and his team will go through the training. They have a dedicated phone line for it. They've got 4 individuals that will be assisting and going through the outreach process for all 3 of these programs.
Okay.
So to repeat, Convention for the Public, Convention and Visitors Bureau, Roxanne Morgan and her staff will be doing the applications for all these grants in all 3 programs that are coming forward.
And we need to authorize that MOU today.
Correct.
That is correct. Yes.
If they're going to do that. Yeah.
Jeff, any other thing we need to bring in front of us today?
No, I don't think so. There is, I know we'll be submitting our first invoice, and there's an additional task order coming to cover the rest of our costs through the end of the year. But other than that, no, I think we're good to go. And if I will hope to have an answer on how many applications are submitted, and I'll text Robert and Dory so that you can get that information.
Do we need to discuss task order number 2 at this point, or is this coming forward here next meeting, Robert?
Jeff, that's up to you. Do you want to go ahead and broach task order number 2? Just kind of review that with the commission.
Sure. I'm happy to discuss it real quick right now. We submitted an additional task order to Robert. As we had indicated, right from the beginning, the task order 1 was our initial task order, just to kind of get us through this point. We're at the point where we have just about used up all of task order 1 with a lot of the work that we've done here, and presented task order 2 to manage the programs going forward through the end of the grant period, primarily with all the work that will be done through the end of the calendar year, and then with some cleanup going into January, February, and at the latest March with some of the grant items. And just trying to make sure all the reporting is done correctly and manage everything throughout. So it is a not to exceed amount. It is less, our task order 2 is less than 5% of the administrative fees that are authorized, and it's already been put into the plan in various sections that was approved by the state. So we'll actually come in under budget on that. And again, it's a not to exceed amount. We would only charge you for what is actually incurred.
Dave is raising his hand. Dave?
Mr. Chairman, a question for the commission. If you've had an opportunity to read their proposal, I certainly don't see us changing vendors in the middle of the stream. I would be in favor of moving forward and approving this so they can get on with task 2. And if it were appropriate, I'd offer that motion.
I believe it is appropriate. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Any further questions, discussion on task order number 2? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Now, Mr. Chairman, I have one comment to Jeff. I was one of the
Yes, sir.
kind of the complainers about not having ample information on which to approve expenditures. So I want to tell you how much I appreciate what came to us in the middle of the night last night, because our county administrator is a night owl. But it was there at 3:18 this morning. I appreciate that. And could we ask perhaps that we have something similar to this, maybe weekly or whatever, kind of on a frequent basis, so we can keep up to date?
Absolutely. What I will, definitely take a look at how we best present information to you. Hearing the feedback from you very positively on the reimbursement side, we'll keep this going. When we think about the applications for the different programs going forward, we're going to figure out a way to put that forward to you. I think the only piece that may be a little bit of a challenge is the Household Emergency Relief Grant. We don't want to share any personally identifiable information in a public setting, so we'll redact pieces of that as well, and we'll probably just identify them by the application submission number.
That I understand. So, not a problem.
It's understandable.
Yeah. No. But we'll work on getting something to Commissioner Jones so that we can keep it on a regular basis.
Okay, thank you.
Jeff, on the connectivity grant from the state phase 2, you anticipate something perhaps by the end of this week? Is that what you've been hearing?
Correct. Yeah, we reached out to the state. You're trying to follow up on that, and I'm glad that you mentioned that, Robert. The state indicated that they will. The state indicated that they will be reviewing those. They have been reviewing those and hope to have a decision this week. I'll follow up on Thursday or Friday, just trying to see where our status is. And Mayor, I know that Matt submitted one on behalf of the city as well. So, just kind of keeping that update in there for you as well.
Mr. Chair.
All right. And then also one other piece, I know in contact with Steve Green, the EM director, he submitted a rural EOC grant through WebEOC on Friday as well. So really trying to find out, leverage every available dollar that's out here to support Finney County.
Okay, excellent. Anything further?
Mr. Chairman, and again, Jeff, we talked about some of this at the meeting the other day, but subsequent to that meeting, I've had a board meeting with the Kansas Association of Counties on Friday, and not everyone, even in that board, understood or knew whether or not their county had a direct contact at the state. But I think in the spirit of transparency and full disclosure and so forth, Jeff, just relay to us it doesn't have to be a specific name, but we have a specific contact that you're working with at the state. When you reference things that you did in your presentation, well, let's see if they're approved or what their take is on this. Help the public understand what you're doing in connection with the state, first of all.
Great. So yeah, we've been primarily working with Doug Gerber, who's the county project director from the Office of Recovery. And just this past week, there was we had a technical assistance call. Claire, whose last name escapes me, is our technical assistance advisor, basically a point of contact. She reports into Doug, and we'll work through some of the technical issues with us. Claire is a former commissioner herself and a former county administrator for 30 years. So speaks the language, understands what's going on, and we've started to forge a decent relationship with her. I've got a strong relationship with Doug Gerber just because he started earlier, and we're dealing with him in multiple counties.
Thank you for that clarification. And then the other thing I wanted to point out to our Board of Commissioners, last week hopefully you received from Bruce Cladney, our KAC Executive Director, an email that had a link in it where you could pull up all 105 counties' reimbursement requests and so forth. And as I perused that for this Southwest Kansas area particularly, but even Northwest and Central a little bit, and this is a compliment to Robert and Dory and the staff here, as well as to Jeff. Ours said a high level of understanding. And some of them said an adequate level of understanding. Some of them said no understanding. And some of them said more information needed. Ours had no information needed. So we're definitely on the right track. And I wanted the people within within Finney County to understand, as well as commissioners to understand, that I think that we're getting what we're paying for with Iparimetrics, because they're dotting all the i's and crossing all the t's at this point. And I don't expect Jeff to let us down in phase 2, if you will. But I just, as I perused those, we were right up there, if not at the top, as far as how we're being accepted and respected at the state. And I think, Jeff, was it you that said, or Robert, somebody said that we were asked to be used as a model or something?
I heard that from a fellow that might be sitting in the room, a mayor, had that kind of a compliment for us.
But was it from the state or from another county? I can't remember.
Actually, it was from the KAC. They had utilized.
Oh, yeah, that's what it
as
was.
an example on some of their presentations, processes and so forth. So it was a very good compliment.
That's what it was, yeah.
Lon, does that, I didn't look at the link, but does it list the amount granted to each county? I'll have to go back and look.
It's most of the counties were 4 to 6 pages. One county to our north had 21 pages because they had a very detailed list of what their reimbursement requests were and so forth. But most of them are pretty easy to go through because it's 4 or 5 pages. But yes, it has numbers and I mean, it's very good information. And if we want to check out another county and see how we compare.
Okay.
All right. Jeff, we thank you for your presentation and appreciate it very much. Thank you for all the work, and we will visit with you at the next meeting.
Thank you. I really appreciate all the trust in us. Have a great day.
You too.
And then, Mr. Chairman, with regard to the memorandum of understanding with the CDB, what I'm seeing on my screen is a template of an MOU. Do we need to have any further review, or we just put in CDB and this, we can approve this by inserting CDB as the vendor?
Correct, and I've already did that. I did that earlier this morning on this particular document. Went ahead and sent off to Roxanne for her review as well. So we're ready for your consideration on this.
So, yeah, and I'd looked through the template, and so with that, Mr. Chairman, I would move that we approve the memorandum of understanding with the Convention Visitors Bureau.
I'll second that.
Thank you for the second motion. Discussion. Appreciate convention and visitors, Roxanne and her people willing to step forward. Going to be a challenging project. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. All right, we have a agreement with Idea Tech on our fiber project.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, Doug, you're going to take care of it. Okay, so looking around, thank you.
So the agreement, the contract should be completed and signed roughly this week, I believe. The project itself, we have the route, all of the routes and all of the building walkthroughs completed. And the materials orders, materials and equipment should all be ordered this week. So mostly it's been paperwork type stuff, but we are making substantial progress.
We did meet one morning last week with Idea Tech via Zoom. Went over complete project overview on that. City was involved in that as well, as far as easements and so forth. So we are ready to try and move forward on this project. They are very eager to get moving on it. So
we do have weekly meetings scheduled with them for updates, status updates, if you will.
Wayne.
Dave?
Doug, I have a quick question. Are we under the gun, or maybe to Robert also, are we under the gun to have that fiber optic project completed by the 1st of January, or to have it underway and the funds encumbered by the 1st of January?
No, it has to be completed by December 30th.
Well, that's close to January the 1st. Okay.
And it's complete.
All right, thank you.
The contract, under your consideration today has, gone through your county counselor, and she had no other comments on it. She was fine with the document.
Mr. Chairman, before I make the motion, just one quick clarification. I've had a couple people in the community ask me, is some of this connectivity going to be overhead, or is it all going to be underground?
It's 100% buried.
Yeah, that's what I thought, but somebody had been given the wrong impression, and I just wanted to clarify that. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I would move that we approve the agreement with Idea Tech for our fiber installation.
We already had.
No, we haven't signed the contract.
Or the contract,
I'm
or
sorry,
whatever.
okay.
I don't know if I used the right word there, but
Allow the chairman to sign the contract.
yes. You read my mind.
Further modifications to the motion. All right. All those in favor of the motion to approve the
Bill, second.
Idea Tech contract, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
You're on your way.
Yep.
Or you've been on your way.
Well, it looks like on their projected schedule, they start burying conduit first of November.
They're gonna have to hurry.
There you go.
Stephen, you're up. I have a resolution for the EOC hazard mitigation plan. And I assume this is just to keep us in the loop and funds available?
Yeah, good morning. Basically, that resolution, I think it's just for Commissioner Dries to sign off. It's per protocol through our hazard mitigation 5-year update procedure. And we'd be disseminating those resolutions out to the city, the school districts, and some of our utilities. And that's like as stated, that's per protocol. And we want to get that done by the 4th quarter of this year and get that updated. We've already started the process working with the fire chief, and he's been instrumental in updating his particular section. And we engaged our various entities around the county to update their particular sections as well. Okay. So that's that. As far as our position, we've had some change in personnel in the emergency management department. So what we're gonna kind of reassess our my position and the department in general to build some efficiency. And so that's more to come on that. Okay, we've had a resignation, and we're going to try to combine some of those tasks into one. And we've upgraded Skylar's responsibility to be my backup in an emergency scenario if I'm not available. Okay, and we've advised the state of that process as well. So that's where we stand with that, and we'll get more information to you once we update the job scope and things of that nature.
Mr. Chairman, I'll start the ball rolling here by offering a motion that we approve Finney County Resolution 23-2020. That'll get his hazardous mitigation plan underway.
Thank you, Dave. Second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion, further discussion on the resolution? If not, all those in favor of resolution 23-2020 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion's carried.
Now,
And you still have your hand up, Dave.
well, I have a quick little discussion item while Steve's standing here. I mentioned that I had a conversation with him, but for the rest of you, I was at the Finney County Committee on Aging meeting last week, and I hear the transportation director discussing with the group that they're having some difficulty getting their bus drivers trained under the requirements for first aid and CPR. So what Steve's doing and trying to reorganize here, I think may cover some of that in better detail than it has in the past, right?
Yeah, we're going to identify some As far as our county employees, they can do some online training for working through our insurance carrier, Travelers. And it basically provides the same basic training that you could get from going to a class. We can kind of expedite the training and get it across the board for everyone that's in need of that. As far as the private sector, we're gonna find some avenues external of the county that they can go and pursue those initiatives to get their training.
Well, I'll remind the commissioners back about 1994 when we had a different emergency manager.
Who was shown.
Yeah, who would that be? That we put into place a mandatory safety training program. And I don't know that we've ever rescinded that, so maybe someday we need to take a look, Steve, at what is mandated of county employees and then decide, are the folks at, say, the library or the historical society or at the senior center, are they to be treated as county employees or not, since they're kind of an affiliate of the county. So I think we don't need to do that today, but we need to have that discussion in the future.
Absolutely, yeah. We've actually started some of that, identifying some onboarding disciplines that we want our personnel to go through. And again, some of that's going to be online as well.
Good. Okay, thank you.
And in closing, I'd like to say from the emergency management team, I'd like to thank Darlene for her support. I know she's leaving us. She's convincing. She convinced me to come off the beach and move to Kansas. So she gave me an opportunity, and I sincerely appreciate that. And we're going to miss her, okay? As well as I know we're having Katrina's going to be leaving us as well, and she's been an incredible support in the COVID-19 adventure from the emergency management perspective. And we couldn't have been successful without her support as well. So from the EM team, we thank you guys.
Well said.
I like your word adventure. That I hadn't heard that.
Well, we're still involved in that adventure.
I hadn't heard
We
the
haven't
term
come
of
to
that
the
yet.
conclusion yet. Yeah.
That's great.
John?
We appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
We have a little time before our usual scheduled break, so we have a discussion on the future energy solutions for the lighting of LEC. I have Roger, John, and Wayne. If you can, all of you come up forward, please.
We'll let those guys talk. I'll just introduce them real quick. Future Energy is an organization that comes in and fits the lighting to LED. They'll explain it all more eloquently than I will. Well, we'll just turn it over to them again.
Okay.
You can just get out of the way, huh?
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Wayne Burrell. This is my colleague, John Schwartz.
Good morning.
And thank you. First of all, I'm pretty impressed with the technology that's here. I've been to a few board meetings myself, and so I brought handouts just in case I wasn't sure of this level of sophistication. So depending on what questions you have.
Well, they are dragging us kind of slowly that direction, so.
Absolutely. So the first thing I'd say is that how we came here is through a referral from Ryan Powell, who you've dealt with the medical and dental renewal. And unlike Ryan, we're not asking for any money, any extra money. In fact, we're actually going to provide a surplus. So if there's any shortfalls in your budget on any specific line items, there's an opportunity to actually provide a surplus of about $26,000 in year one without you having to spend any additional funding than what you currently have in your existing budget for the current year. And the way how that works is that it's in the beautiful and interesting subject of lighting. And I want to preface by saying, first of all, when it comes to lighting, there's three things any organization needs, whether it's public or private. And the three main things you need is a viable product or service that brings value to society. In this case,
you are muted.
The jail. It certainly brings value to our society. The second thing it needs is personnel to obviously, run that facility and live up to the mission and vision of the organization. And the third thing, you need energy, and specifically within energy, lighting. And the reason why lighting is critical, for obvious reasons, for everyone to be productive, but lighting is actually the most neglected line item in your utilities budget. The reason is, first of all, you can't see it because the power company does not isolate what your lighting expense is. So it's very neglected.
second piece is, unlike HVAC, which creates your light bill to do the up and down, lighting is a very consistent line item in your budget. And in the case of facilities such as a jail, it's as much as 30% of your line item because you're consuming so much of it. 24 hours in the common areas, 17 hours in the pods, and 12 hours on the exterior, dusk to dawn. So it's a neglected item, but a very, very high item in your monthly energy bill. And so, and then lastly, from a maintenance standpoint, most people do not track how much you're spending on maintenance. And in speaking with Rex at the facility, not surprisingly, it's been a challenge to track that piece as well. So all those things, there's an opportunity here today that we're able to get that piece right-sized for you and fix that. So who we are, we're Future Energy Solutions. We're based in Fort Lauderdale. We're a national company in about 40 states. I'll give you a quick 5-minute high level as far as who we are. So we're commercial lighting as a service expert. Okay, we don't sell anything, so there's nothing for you to buy. We've been in business for 40 years. This particular program called the Lighting as a Service program, we've been doing for the past 11 years. And in the 11 years, we've accumulated close to 2,000 sites here in the United States and across 9 European countries in Europe. We've generated collectively over 200 million in energy savings for our clients. We've installed over 500,000 energy efficient lights, and we've eliminated 68 million pounds of CO2 emissions on an annual basis, okay? Because of those accomplishments in such a short time, we were recognized by Inc. 5000, one of the fastest growing companies here in America, and by Entrepreneur360.com magazine as one of the 8th most innovative company here in the United States. Just a quick snapshot of our reach across the US, again, over 40 states, and the markets that we participate in. We don't participate in every market because of what we do, which I'll explain in a quick moment, but there's certain key markets where our program works. Automotive, car dealerships, casual dining, education, schools, hospitality, hotels, law enforcement, and the one thing you'll see in all of these, we participate in sectors where the lighting consumption is fairly consistent. It doesn't change from day to day. So in case you're wondering, if you have questions, if we do it residential, the answer is no, because the lighting goes up and down. So give you a timeline as far as how we got here today. Through the referral from Ryan, and we initially spoke with Roger, and we spoke with the Undersheriff Mike Warren and Greg at the county jail back on August 12th. We presented our solution. They were very intrigued by it, and so they invited us to come up and do an audit, which doesn't cost the county anything. We did the audit back on September 2nd with Kyle Lawson and Jeff, who walked the facility with us. And on September 3rd, we had a mini session to review that audit, which was with Mr. Jones, Roger, Greg at the facility, and I forgot your name, Robert as well. And there was probably one or two of the gentlemen that was there. And so based on that conversation, we're invited back today. So I don't want to go too much further here, but I want to kind of make you understand exactly what we do. So basically, based on the audit, we're able to confirm that your facility qualified for our program. And what we do is we provide funding for businesses, both public and private, for our program, in which we provide the light fixtures at no cost to the county. We will install the light fixtures at no cost to the county. And we will maintain the light fixtures, parts and labor, 100% labor for 15 years to the county. Now, how do we get compensated back? We get compensated back from the savings that we generate, and we're contracted to do that, that we generate from the removal of the old fixtures, inputting in new LED fixtures. It will create a cost savings. From that, we will retain a portion of that savings. We do not keep 100% of that savings. So we will keep 75% of that savings, and the county will retain 25% of that savings. Very, very critical as it relates to the savings that we retain. Part of our calculation, which I'm happy to share that with you today, I do have some handouts if you'd like to see how that works. It is based on key critical things. Obviously, it's based on the quantity of light fixtures in your facility. It's based on the consumption of each light fixture in your facility, which we got all that information from Kyle and Jeff. And it's also based on the wattage in each light fixture, which is very easy because it's all on the bulb or on the lamp or the tube. And then the last piece of information we need is what the county is currently paying for energy to the power company. When we did the audit back in earlier this month, the county is currently paying 9.4 cents per kilowatt hour for energy. So based on those pieces of information, it's very easy for us to extract from your bill how much of it is lighting. And because of the usage in a jail facility is very consistent every single day, then it's very easy for us to feel very confident that that number in your bill really doesn't change month after month after month, unlike the weather, which causes your bill to change. So once we figure that piece out, we then say to ourselves, do we have the right lighting solution to provide you that could do two things? Provide you the right lighting solution based on what you're lighting up, and then two, can we give you long-lasting, tangible energy savings? If the answer is yes, we approve the project. If the answer is no, we decline the project because obviously we're taking all the risks, okay? But based on the audit, we're able to conclude that the project passes. Now, the 0.094 cents, which I talk about, which is part of the calculation, the compensation back to FES is based on 0.094 in consumption to the power company. That compensation to FES stays locked in the entire time of the length of the term. So you mentioned earlier about inflation. Well, energy cost inflation is about 3.5% to 4.5% year on year. That's per the U.S. Department of Energy, not me. And so as the cost of energy continues to increase, we do not come back and recalculate. The compensation to FES stays locked in at 0.094 cents rate of energy for the entire length of the term. And so while energy cost continues to increase, the county gets to keep all that future savings. We do not come back and recalculate. In addition to that, there's no more future costs of maintenance, which right now, from what I understand, is very difficult to track within the county. But we have some projections to kind of show you exactly what that would look like. And so as of right now, based on our audit, what we did, the county is projected to save just under $500,000 over the length of the term. And again, happy to hand out how all those numbers kind of come about. So I'll pause there for questions and go from there.
Well presented. Gentlemen, questions?
We've had pretty good experience with retrofitting buildings because we did that several years ago, not only on lighting, but HVAC. So it's interesting. We spend, last utility bill I saw, we spent $17,000, I think, for the LEC a month.
23,000.
Was it 23? But it was more than what all our other buildings combined. And so, that's always been a problem. We've thought about this for a long time about whether to challenge the HVAC and the lighting, but this looks like a good fit to get the lighting taken care of.
And so the key to our program, because, I think, Robert, you may have asked a question while we were there. How can we do it and you can't do it yourself? Just go out and buy the lights yourself and keep all the savings yourself. The answer is actually very, very simple. Lighting is just like the automotive industry. It's planned obsolescence, okay? And so the only way to keep your lights working forever is not turn them on. But the second you turn them on, heat generates and it creates failure. And so the key is, and I'll show you this very quick thing, I'll just go through a couple of slides. To really understand why you cannot do it, is basically, this is the most important slide for anyone to understand. If you do a lighting upgrade yourself, the most important thing you don't understand is, financially speaking, once you do a lighting upgrade, you cannot do it again. Okay, I have an example I'm showing you is a 400-watt bulb, which is the most common bulb across any jail facility in their parking lot. That's enough. You need that bigger wattage to give off enough light so the cameras could capture dark spots and things like that. Make sense? The comparable LED replacement is a 120-watt LED, again, to give the same amount of light as a 400-watt bulb. You really can't go any lower. You'll have dark spots on your lot. So if you notice, the reason why anyone would justify the spend to go from a $25 bulb to a $400, $500, $600 fixture is because they're saying, over time, I'll get my money back. So with the old technology, you're paying $100 cents on the dollar to the power company. You go to LEDs, and now it's a 70% reduction, so now you're paying 30 cents on the dollar, right? So what happens now is that at some point in the future, you hope that the lights last long enough so you get your money back. 3 years, 4 years, whatever it is, because lights will fail, because manufacturers have to keep manufacturing light fixtures and keep selling. If you go to Lowe's, Home Depot, any hardware store, one of the largest space for any product is lighting, for obvious reasons. They keep failing, right? So when the LED fixture fails and you have to replace it, you're now starting at 30 cents on the dollar. You're not starting at $1 again. And so now you have no more savings, and now you're just buying a very expensive light fixture. It looks sexy, nice and sleek, but you're buying a much more expensive light fixture with no more savings. Now, someone said, which I'm prepared to explain to you, well, what if new technology comes out in the future, not so much for the light, because no one's going to replace white light, but in terms of the wattage. So if another 70% reduction in wattage to give the same amount of light, which in this case would be 36 watts, well, when that happens, you're still starting at 30 cents. You get another 70% reduction. You're now down to 9 cents on the dollar. You're now only saving 21 cents. So if it took you 2 years, 3 years, 4 years to get your money back on the initial spend, it's going to take you 3.5 times that on the second spend. So there's no mathematical scenario where if you do a lighting upgrade on your own, you're going to make money. You're going to lose money, and that's a fact I can prove in any scenario. And so the key to our program is the technology. So Future Energy Solutions design and manufacture our light fixtures not to fail. The technology actually exists for any lighting company, Philips, Sylvania, General Electric. The technology exists to simply create a light fixture that could last a very long time. But if you did that, the industry would fail, right? However, for our program, we do that particular technology because we don't sell anything, we provide it, and we maintain it for the length of the term. So that is the key to our program, is the technology in our light fixtures.
So you don't have an hourly longevity on these fixtures?
Yes,
they're unlimited, or?
Yes, we do. So our fixtures are DLC certified. If you're familiar with lighting, that's one of the most critical certification you want to have, because it shows that our fixtures were tested, time tested, heat tested, to back up our proof. However, if in the event it failed, we would still be contractually obligated to replace it anyway. So the thing I always say to people is, well, what do you care? Because I'm still responsible either way. But clearly it's in our best interest for the lights not to fail, because if we keep coming out to replace them, then obviously, because I can't raise your compensation once it's locked in, I'm probably going to lose money over the long term. So it's in our best interest to provide light fixtures that are long lasting.
So it's your fixtures that are better.
Correct.
Not necessarily the bulb, but it's the fixture.
Well, combined, the fixture above everything. Exactly. Right? It's about the technology. That's what makes our program unique.
Now, we have hailstorms out in this country.
Yes.
It's those exterior lights are.
Well, I mean, they're certainly built to withstand those things because we're a Florida-based company. We're in hurricane country. But nonetheless, if you think about anything like a tree falls on a fixture, Mrs. Jones, not your, someone backs into a pole.
I like it. Thank you.
It's a very, very common last name, right? Someone backs into a pole, knocks over a fixture, then it would just be a normal claim you would through your insurance company. And the way how that works is we would provide you at cost, because again, you're a client, we're not looking to make any money, and as part of your insurance claim to replace those. But in terms of a true maintenance, the driver fails, the fixture fails, blinking lights, the things that you typically go through, failed ballast, which Roger talks about at nausea when we were there, we handle all those costs.
Mr. Jones.
Your point gets close to something he's not yet mentioned. If, in case you're interested and want to take notes, are 1,463 fixtures in that LEC that they audited, but they didn't audit the parking lot lights.
Correct. We didn't audit the parking lot lights because the parking lot's already existing LEDs. So it goes to that theory. You already have LEDs, so if I give you LEDs, there's no savings, right? So we didn't audit the parking lot.
Now, the other thing that he's not yet mentioned is this installation and maintenance is done by a local contractor, which I find attractive. The downside, as I told him in our meeting, the previous meeting, is that we would be committing future county commissions for 15 years to a project if we agree to this. And we're also committing ourselves to the technology that he's offering for a 15-year period. But
yeah, and I'd like to comment on that if you could. So in terms of the 15-year in of itself, the 15 years is because of the technology, right? So, regular fluorescents, regular metal halide bulbs lose about 30% of their lumens or brightness. I'm giving you some technical information in about the first 3 to 4 months. It doesn't mean you replace the lights, you just have depressed lighting and you deal with it. Our technology does the same thing in about 62,000 hours, which is 14.6 years. So we know the lights are starting to turn yellow, they're starting to fade. And so at that point, the contract needs to end. We give you the option, hey, do you want to deal with the lights that's depressed, or would you like us to come in, relamp, give you brand new lights, and restart the agreement for 10 more years, still at the 0.094 rate. So the reason why it can't go beyond 15 years is simply because of the technology that we have. Now, to your question, Mr. Jones, as it relates to being locked into the technology, the nice thing about what we do, unlike computers or maybe security systems, it's just lights. So the lighting output, the white light, will never be replaced with anything else. So the only thing you better ask yourself then is, does technology comes out where there's even lower wattage that could give you the same amount of light? Well, as you saw in the LEC, that exists now. You have LEDs, but you haven't done anything because, well, why should you? It's just white light. For us, because it's our technology, if in the event new technology comes out, then we certainly reserve the right to come in and relamp you with that technology as well. So then the last piece is that, not so much on the interior, but more on the exterior, which we didn't audit, but just for your knowledge, when you buy lights in the open market, you're susceptible to technology changes in terms of aesthetics more than anything else, right? The fixture changes, the combination of the diodes and the way they're structured changes. And so aesthetically, you expose yourself to having to replace the entire system because the lights don't all fail at once. And so you don't want to have certain light fixtures looking one way and another light fixture looking another way. We de-risk our clients from that because we own the molds to these fixtures. And so even within the fixture, we could change the technology. The exterior looking fixture itself stays the same. So aesthetically, our clients isn't exposed to that risk. Manufacturers go out of business, especially when you're buying these things from China. So all those things we de-risk our clients from.
Mr. Chairman, a follow-up to that, and I think that, or at least I heard this as a part of your point, Dave. We're committing future commissions to a 15-year contract. Not that we might not be in other contracts that we do here and so forth and so on, but what would be, and I mean, it sounds like a good experience for both parties, if you will. But what if a future commission decided they wanted to get out of the contract before the end of the 15 years? What kind of a clause is in there to terminate the contract?
Yeah, so there's a termination clause in there. We're glad to say that we've had maybe a handful of clients who were actually going out of business that had to cancel the contract. But the clause simply states that after 10 years, there's a discount model built in, and after 12 years, there's an even bigger discount model built in. And so it goes back to what I mentioned earlier, which I probably need to expand on. That's why we're very careful in who we partner with, right? We're not interested in a business that's here today, gone tomorrow. We do schools as an example, county facilities as an example. In the casual dining space, we do things like McDonald's and Burger King, good household names that are going to be around because, again, we're taking all the risk up front. And also entities that aren't looking to move and be here today and move to another location tomorrow and things like that. So that's key for us in terms of who we identify to partner with as it relates to the 15-year agreement.
Wayne, my question, sooner or later, we're going to get around to redoing the HVAC system over on that building.
I'm sorry, the what, sir?
The HVAC, excuse me, HVAC. Never mind. Location, if through that process and they want to rearrange the number of lightings, or do you change the number of lightings
Yeah,
fixtures
so
that are
obviously,
over there.
once we partner together, because I'm not a vendor just here to sell you some stuff and get some cash and disappear. We're in it together, right? So if our clients are doing any kind of renovation, we definitely want to know that, so we can ensure that the audit in terms of what's on file stays the same. If you're moving things around, making some rearrangements, absolutely, we can certainly work with our clients with that.
But you predict 1,463 fixtures going back in over there then?
One of the interesting things, though.
Well, to answer your question, I mean, obviously, based on what we audited, that number is locked in, obviously. And so, just one more thing, if the contract was approved and signed, we don't go straight to installation, just so you're aware, because we're the ones that did the audit. We actually hired the local contractor, whoever it is that you use, and they're going to go behind us and actually verify everything that we did, just to ensure that there's a neutral third party that's going to verify the count, verify the wattage, and all those good things. And then once that's done, then we go to installation.
Well, the remodel, you may not change the number of fixtures, but the altitude is also in this audit that they did is kind of an interesting thing to read, because it's got the wattage and it's got how many tubes, but
how high,
what the height is off of the floor and so on. So.
Yeah, and I'm actually right out of Wichita, Kansas. Wayne came from Florida, but so this is the market I work in. So if that ever comes up, then I'm right back there on site with you guys, and we figure out what's moving where and what we need to adjust to make sure and right size the audit for you as we go.
Lon?
Based on what's been said here a couple of times, then my question is, how is the local vendor selected for the installation? Is that through you, or is that us? Or?
Collaboration. So we have some clients that don't necessarily have a contractor that they use. So we recommend our local contractor. And then we do, for our larger clients, such as schools, and typically, obviously, a county jail where that contractor hasn't been approved to even enter your facility, then oftentimes we'll just typically use your contractor. In fact, we did an installation at Montgomery County Jail, which I actually invited Roger to actually make a phone call. I'm not sure if you're able to do that, to maybe have a reference check with that particular site as well. And in that particular instance, they had their local contractor, which we employed on. And we prefer that because, again, it keeps all the investment in the local community. So we prefer that option. And then just to make sure you understand how the audit works, currently right now of the audit, the fixtures that we audited, approximately $5,900 of your monthly bill is lighting of the light fixtures that we install, that we audited. Again, excluding the exterior light fixtures, because those are on 12 hours every day as well. It's about $5,900, of which we're going to bring it down to approximately $1,700. Okay, it's going to give you a monthly energy savings of $4,205. From that, the 75% compensation to FES is $3,153.86. So on month one, there's a cash flow back to the county of $1,051, right? In addition to that, maintenance now goes away. So in year one, there's going to be a surplus of about $17,948 back to the county. In addition to that, in this particular county, local lighting companies will give rebates back when businesses convert over. There's no rebates available to you in this county. However, because we're the manufacturer, we're also providing a manufacturer's rebate. It's good through October 15th, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but that rebate's an additional $8,200. So in year one, you'll have a surplus of approximately $26,000 available to the county.
Another question. So will you change the exterior lights too, even though they're LEDs?
We can. So basically, it will eat it because the majority of your fixtures, 1,100 plus fixtures, are interior. Those exterior fixtures, I think it was maybe like a dozen or so. We could certainly do that. It will eat into the savings a little bit, not a ton, but it will. Overall, you'll still see savings because you've got $1,051. But if I was to guess, we'll probably eat into your savings by maybe $100 a month. I'm guessing.
I was just saying it'd be simpler. I think everything was
sure
on you guys and not
sure. And I mean, it's basically how that would work is because we have to show the quote unquote savings, we already know what's out there because, we know what's required. So we would do what's called a reverse engineer. We would pretend as if you currently have a 400-watt bulb. We would then put the replacement. In speaking with Roger, I believe the lighting output's about 150 watts out there, and just show that as a replacement and just add it to the program for you. But like I said, it'd be very, very clear, and we would provide you with an acknowledgement letter that shows, hey, these fixtures you're not seeing savings on, just so you're aware. But obviously, you get the benefit of maintenance moving forward. And also on the interior, when we do our audit, we'll also provide you an acknowledgement letter of the number of outages that you have, because that's important. Because currently, right now, as we're speaking, your overall utilities spend each month is understated because you have light fixtures that are currently not working.
My next, I guess, question for Roger: how much inventory do you carry on replacement? Because that's the only facility left, well, other than some of the fairgrounds.
We don't carry a lot of inventory.
Okay. Do you spend much time over there fixing or replacing lights, or is that
It's a constant, it's a good workflow.
Yeah.
And so if I could just comment on that, because we did the same thing at Montgomery County Jail. They just like at Finney, Rex and Jeff is the two maintenance folks that we met. We're obligated to be out for maintenance within 3 business days. But especially here in the Midwest, with snow and hail and sleet and things like that, if in the event the contractor is unable to come out within that time, for that particular client, we actually provide them inventory that they keep on their property. And so if a light fixture goes out, maybe in an office somewhere, Rex and his team could actually go and actually pull from inventory, do the replacement, and the county sends us an invoice for his time that was done to do that work. So maintenance is 100% absolutely free.
I have one following question, if I may.
Go for it.
Wayne,
Yes, sir.
are the percentages of repay to your company, are those different depending upon the age of the contract? Let me get directly to the point. We were given the example of the contract with the Indiana County.
Yes, sir.
And I see here on our notes, page 111 out of 150, that their basic monthly energy cost $3,144.99. And their new monthly lighting energy is going to be $1,015.23. So it's a 2/3 savings. Their monthly compensation to you folks is $1,597.32. What I'm saying, rather than you get the percentage you're stating for Finney County's contract, this looks to be different.
You mean the one from Montgomery?
Yes, with Montgomery.
Well, it's different because they're a smaller facility.
I'm talking about the percent, not the dollars total, but the percent.
The 75-25?
The 75-25 doesn't look to be right.
No, it's still the same. So for Montgomery County, I believe their monthly compensation was, I think it was
$1,500.
Correct. Yeah, I mean they had half the amount of fixtures.
You're on
we had.
Indiana.
He's talking about the example that we have from Indiana.
Correct. So their compensation to us was $1,500 per month based on a $2,000 or so savings each month. And again, I mean, they had 600 fixtures. You have,
So it's always 75%.
But yeah, it never changes.
Okay.
The split never changes.
That's all I'm asking.
Yes, sir. Yeah, the split never changes. It's consistent for any client that we do. And then a compensation of $1,500 will never change for the length of the term. And that's in the agreement. And I know we let the copy, we submitted a copy for the attorney to review. I'm not sure how far she has gotten with that. But in the agreement, it states that we will not recalculate cost of kilowatt hour, even though we know for a fact that you will have inflation over the length of the term.
You mentioned compensation. Does that come in the form of a check monthly from Finney County?
So, actually ACH, we prefer ACH. It's easier for both. You write the same number every month. It never changes. So ACH is probably the best way to handle that. And the good news, like I said, is not something you have to budget for. You're already paying it.
Interesting proposal, Phyllis. Roger, you've spent lots of time with this, I'm sure. How about your take and your input?
We spoke together, yes. Right now, well, honestly, I was pretty hesitant to start with. I wasn't sure I was going to endorse it or not. The more I've thought about it, the more I've talked to other competitors and whatnot. For us to replace that at our cost, the consensus is about $280,000 to $300,000 if you were to write a check. That would come out. That'd be your capital cost to replace everything. That's labor. That's turnkey. And if you accept this proposal, I think in the long run you would be way ahead. With that said, the contract is at the council, and my recommendation today is to not do a motion on this until it comes back from council, hopefully within the next 2 weeks. But I would endorse this.
And also, we need to have the full understanding that this, if we agree to this contract, they own the lights. They're not county
Well, in
property.
15 years, they don't come take them back though.
Yeah.
So just make sure you're.
Yeah, I assure you, we have nothing we can do with those after
Yeah.
15 years.
Very interesting concept. Lon, you have another question.
Well, just a comment, more than a question. Robert and this is to Robert and Roger. In addition to council looking over the contract before we would move to approve that, I would be more comfortable, and I'm not speaking for the other four, if there were, and I'm not discounting or I'm not lacking any trust in what you've said, but I think prudence on our part as commissioners, we need to call some references, if you will. And I didn't know what your answer was when he asked if you had called Montgomery County, and I don't know if there's any others in the region that may not be in Kansas, but within the region that your company is working with, that 2 or 3 references could be called in addition to council's approval of the contracts. I just think prudence on behalf of the taxpayers.
Yeah, we always highly recommend that. So we'll gladly provide you references. And you said Jeff called the okay. And if I could, just one last thing, just to talk about, because Roger mentioned the importance of cost. And this is the example from Montgomery County. We went through the same thing with them. So, the $200,000 that Roger mentioned is spot on in terms of what you're going to find in the marketplace. And in Montgomery County's case, their quote for 630 fixtures was $125,800. And we take a lot of pride in keeping everything open book. And we told the client, hey, let's look at it line by line, exactly how it would work. So if you spent the money yourself and you got the lights yourself and you keep all the savings yourself, in this case, the $2,000 a month, it's going to take you about 62 months to get to your quote unquote money back. It's longer because of inflation, but for simple math, we'll just leave it at the 62,000 months. Obviously then the question is how long the lights are going to last. Well, first of all, in a jail where the lights are running at minimum 17 hours, and just so you guys know, the second if you bought the lights yourself and they go in, the exterior lights, specifically the pods, the common areas, they're immediately void from warranty. Not sure if you know this or not, but if you check any warranty from any major manufacturer, it's based on a consumption of no more than 12 hours per day. So your lights in your common areas are null and void on day one. So it's not a good idea to buy lights, but in any case, just in terms of this example, we predicted that if the lights lasted you 6 years, so another 10 months, at the end of year 6, you're up $20,000 from your initial $125,000 spend. And so we said to them, well, let's assume the lights were so magical that inflation never changes, the cost of the lights were the same, the cost of the installation were the same, and you spent another $125,000 on year 6 in a day. Now you're it ate into your $20,000. Now you're down $105,000 after $250,000 spent in 6 years. And by the way, that's assuming no maintenance. And so we gave them our example, where in our example, you keep your $125,000 and you still get the lights. Because we retain 75% of the savings, you therefore are retaining, in this case, $500 per month over 6 years. That's $36,000. So at the end of year 6, if you kept the $125,000 under the mattress, you're now up $161,800. I could go on, but as you can see, it's a no-brainer. And so it's a difference of $141,000. But we actually explain more, right? You also retain the $125,800 for the second spend in year 6 and a day. And also, if you actually did not put the $125,000 under the mattress and actually invested it on a 5% simple interest year-on-year return, that's $37,740. So in summary, you invest the original $125,800. You got 6 months of savings at 25%, which is $36,000. You've got the 5% on the initial $125,000. You retain the second $125,000. It's a difference of $325,000. That's just real numbers, real math, and we do for all our clients just to make sure they have open book mathematics in making an informed decision. So I'd say to you, the 15 years as it relates to a next board, a next county commission is coming in. It's not a computer system where you know it's going to be obsolete. It's not a security system where you constantly have to be updating. It's just like life. And, you know, the last place you went, how much time you spent looking up, no one really cares. So I'll leave you with that.
Well, to sum it up, Wayne, it's very impressive, and I think you probably sold us, but we need to do our
Sure,
due
absolutely.
diligence
Thank you.
and
Thank
go
you,
from
gentlemen.
there. And we'll probably be visiting with John then after that fact. Or...
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'll be, like I said, I'll be right out of Wichita, so, you know, it's not too far to come out here and get everything set up for you guys.
Wayne, thank you for your
Thanks for your time.
presentation
Thank
and
you.
safe travels.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Let's take a 5-minute break, gentlemen, and we will resume at 20 after. It's not long enough?
He got enough work early today.
We will, in a minute, I'm gonna do kind of a preview with the help of Trey. He built kind of a new dashboard for our tracking of data for the county. So we'll do a preview of that here shortly. But while he's working on that, I'll give you just kind of a general overview and update on several other items. So I'm taking the last 3 weeks of data to give you the numbers for the last 3 weeks so that you can see how much of an increase that we are currently experiencing. From August 31st to September 4th, we tested 145 people. 30 of those were positive with a positivity rate of 21%. From September 7th to the 11th, we tested 193. 19 of those were positive. That gave us a 10% positivity rate. Last week, 9/14 through 9/18, I still have data that has to be input, whereas we still don't have complete data, but we tested over 375, 43 or more were positive, and I still have 195 pending from last week. We went, in 3 weeks' time, 145 testing to over 375 being tested. That is just our numbers at the health department. Positives, 30 positives in a week. Now we're up over 43 positives in a week. That is just positives from our sample group. That does not include what positives we get from the hospital, Kearney County, Genesis, and other area health departments, Ford County, everything else. So we're still working on completing the data, of course, from last week. We won't have a final number, but our testing numbers have more than doubled. The team is handling a tremendous amount. So just kind of letting you guys know of how much that increase has gone. And by the way, the last week, the 9/7 through 9/11, 193 tested. That was on a holiday week of 4 days. So 4 days, 193 tested. Other updates, we are gearing up for flu clinics for October. We will start doing flu shots after October 1st. We have a variety of events that are scheduled for on-site flu shots for a variety of employers in Garden City. We are also working on possibly a drive-through or a drive-up process. We will likely be doing kind of a pre-registration for flu shots and do drive-up flu shots over at the health department, similar to how we're doing COVID testing. Today and tomorrow we have interviews for our COVID response team. We have about 5 applicants so far that we are interviewing. Likely we will have another set of interviews before the end of the month. Still working with school districts, college, Catholic schools on working through their plan, using data metrics to drive those initiatives and how they modify their plans to the different levels within the school districts. We did receive a notification of grant funding totaling in $875,000. So this is all of the grants that were applied for that took away our requests from Spark funding so that those could be utilized in other ways. One was in the amount of $300,000, one $252,000, another $73,000, and then another $250,000. Totals to $875,000 of funding through KDHE instead of Sparks funding. In one of the funding opportunities, the CRF, we did get some fantastic news with that one. We found out that we were one of 26 out of 75 health departments that applied that actually received the funding. So 26 out of 75 that we received the funding. All of the requests were fully funded that I put into KDHE. So that is a tremendous opportunity and a lot of funding that we received. With that being said, I believe we are ready to kind of, oh, go ahead.
Well, just
sure.
A clarification with regard to your report, and I appreciate, you rattling off those numbers,
Sorry.
if you will.
Yes.
No, I appreciate that. But of the increased testing and so forth that you're referencing, Is that mostly due to the schools, or age? Can you help us? Because I'm not digging into the information anymore. I'm just looking at positives and hospitalizations and so forth. But is it the younger age group that's being tested, with school starting or what?
So there has been an increase there, yes. School districts, employees, college. I mean,
Okay.
it's across the board, but I mean, still general public as well. We've seen an increase in demand from all levels.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. So the dashboard, this is a dashboard that's being used by several other health departments across the state, and Trey has been an awesome partner in putting this together. It is not complete, but I just wanted to kind of take the time to show you guys a preview of a general idea of what we're looking at. This would be posted to our social media page, and then also a link on our finneycounty.org page. That would give people access to kind of looking at the data and different graphs and methods of what we're doing right now. So as you see on that one, the top one here, total tested. So it's showing the portions of, it's a stacked graph to show the difference between the positives, the negatives, and then the total tested. And then over time, so it has the historic data there from April through August. I think we're still putting, do we still have more historical data that still needs to be input?
No, I went back, I put everything.
You have it in?
That was
Okay.
sent to me, that was sent from Maggie, so we have everything back from March, unless there's more that I don't have. But
Your number.
to me, put in.
Your number of positives here looks real low, and on your webpage, you're showing over 2,000.
Yeah, it's not full data that's historical. This is just a preview, so it's not the accurate numbers of what's reported right now. We're still trying to build it. It has been kind of a lengthy process to try and get all of this information put into this new dashboard. So the information won't be complete, but it just kind of gives you a general idea of what we're looking to do. The graph of the positivity rates too. Positive cases by day. Oh, can you go back to positive cases by day? So as you can see in that April through May, we had our high point there. I'm surprised, So we had our high point there it looks like about mid-April, and then our second high point mid-May. Our highest day of, I think, positives we had like 98 positives reported in one day. What was that? Yep. Tests by gender. That's a pretty cool breakdown over there, sorry. All right, tests administered by age. How is it showing that? Oh, okay, I see the lines.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of bars in one day, so you got smashed up down there. But that's, we got that little scroll bar so you can really dial in what you want to see. On top of that, up top we have a date filter, so you can go back date. You can look month by month, day by day, week by week, and actually filter the data. So instead of seeing everything all as a lump sum, you can drill down into the data as far as general as you want to be.
Trey, can you go back to the hospitalizations, please? So one thing to report too, over the weekend. So Friday we had 4 hospitalizations. Saturday we had 8. Sunday we had 9, and today we have 8. That is higher than what we have been seeing as a general average. We have been around 2 to 4. 5 was like a high day. We had 8, which was an outlier in the last 4 weeks. So our hospitalizations have increased to that just below 10 range. We are seeing a slight increase there.
But to that point, Colleen, we know of 2 people who were hospitalized and then tested. And we believe that they were included in that number at that particular day, on that number of 8.
Okay.
But neither one of them tested positive and were released from the hospital.
Okay.
So, and the number came down at the time of their release. So
Sure.
we're pretty sure because at the hospital, they use I don't know if I'm using the right terminology, a presumed, if they're presumed to have COVID, not necessarily test positive to have COVID, they're included in that hospitalization. So with that being said, am I understanding that correctly?
I will have to check with the hospital on that. I had the impression that we were getting the reports of the confirmed positives that were admitted. I do know that there have been some hospitalizations where if they can't find any other reason for the symptoms, if all the symptoms do fit the bill of COVID-19, that those would be lumped in until we have test results. But they are also getting test results fairly fast. So I'm not, I'll have to look into it.
And I know one of them was very fast, who ended up with some pneumonia. It was diagnosed as pneumonia. Another one was a COPD client and just having breathing issues. But
sure.
Colleen, do those
Yes, sir.
numbers, are those strictly Finney County? Because I know they do take in patients from
Other, yes. So that's something else that we've had a discussion. Sometimes we have a report later that they might be from a different county. But still that still impacts the number of available beds here. So it's still a good number to have if they're a Finney County resident or not. It still helps us define our data of what's available there at the hospital.
and I get that.
So general preview over here of the dashboard. Any feedback, any thoughts? Is this anywhere closer to what you guys want to see data-wise? Do you see this as being useful for the community? We're trying to get all our data in so that we can launch this. It seems like it's been successful for several other health departments, but wanted to kind of give you the idea of what graphs and things that we can look at.
Mr. Chairman, I don't know if this is the identical dashboard, but it's either identical or similar to what Reno County's been using from the start. And I was impressed with Reno County's earlier, and I was able to dig into some information that I couldn't from ours. So as one of 5, I think it's very, very helpful.
Yeah, if you're interested in these type of numbers,
Sure.
Did you catch that? If you're interested, yeah. Looks good, Trey.
We'll
I
continue.
appreciate all the work you've done on that as well. Thank you.
We'll continue launching that, and then we'll have a release that coincides with this that announces the new platform and way of tracking the data, and maybe some instructions on how to also manipulate the top to look at specific data sets that people would like to look at. So
This will be one more link on our Finney County home page.
Yep. It might be just, I think we were talking about building it into the banner. Is that correct, Trey? We're looking at building it into our banner so that you would click on the data, the COVID-19 data.
Yeah, I would take you to the new, it's whatever all the other counties are using, that ESRI, our software provider, put out. It's called a hub. And the hub says pretty much just a website. It's a nice little interface that has all this data. So where it would be on the banner with the current link there would take you to this new hub with these graphs and charts as opposed to what's there now. And it would be 100% live, so it helps Colleen out as they put in the data. They don't have to go through and keep creating these. When they put in the data, these charts are live and ready to go. So as data gets put in, these update, as you can see, it says last updated a little bit ago. I went through this morning and put a few things in. So as they edit and as they make their changes and put in the numbers, these graphs reflect that automatically, so they don't have to do any extra work after that.
Our data tracking is extremely labor intensive, and so it does take a significant investment of time to continue putting in this data. So we were looking at this from the standpoint of, is this a more efficient way to free up staff time to work on other high priority initiatives? So that's part of why we are considering this and finding alternative ways of reporting the data. That's all continually being evaluated, and we'll continue to evaluate if this is the best way to spend our time. So,
okay.
Other questions, concerns, thoughts?
I've got a question, but this isn't related to this. With Tyson building their own health clinic, what do you think that will do to impact your customer count?
It may have, at this point, a very marginal impact on what we're testing currently. We have been in communication with Tyson on what that's going to look like testing wise and what those future plans are. It will, I'm not sure of the complete design of if they're still planning to do testing there at that clinic, if that's going to be the full, one of the priorities of that initiative, or if they're going to be looking at primary care and follow up on COVID after they're confirmed positive.
Have they given you a projection of when they're going live with this clinic? Or?
No. Yes, sir.
Have you been making plans between your peers here and the state and so on for the what if the vaccine is approved and it's going to be, according to the political front, within 24 hours it's going to just be sent out all over the country. I don't know how in the world they're going to do all of that, but are you guys making some plans for an actual vaccination, an immunization of sorts?
Sure. So our direction from KDHE has been that we're not exactly sure when we will have vaccine and have enough vaccine in stock to disperse to the entire state and to large communities. Once that does happen, we would be looking at potentially a mass vaccination clinic where we could possibly do like a drive-through.
It seems to me that there would be a protocol that, say, first responders, nurses, doctors, and so on, would be the first to get that vaccination.
Sure. There could be deliverables on some of those initiatives and plans from the state, but we are waiting for that announcement from them. Yeah. Still very unsure of when that timeline and what that will look like.
And one of those, they said, had to be maintained at 70 degrees below zero. That's going to be an interesting process. We're going to keep that cold. So anyway,
yes.
Liquid nitrogen.
Anything further for Colleen?
Appreciate your update.
Thank you very much.
Sure. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Nice work, guys. Interrupt our general. I'm going to put John off one more time. We have Matt Allen here, and I've asked him to do a really quick presentation on the joint leadership program or whatever. What do you want to call that, Matt?
Give you an update on whatever?
Yeah, on whatever.
All right. The Economic Lifelines is Economic Lifelines is a group that has quite a long history of advocating for transportation around the state. Its origin story is that it was very grassroots. There was a lot of counties, chambers of commerce, economic development corporations, city governments, in addition to asphalt manufacturers or contractors, concrete contractors, different associations that represent those groups, a really long list. Over time, that gravitated to be most of the heavy industry lobbying groups. Instead of having hundreds of members paying a few $100s each, there were it was more likely to gravitate to a few large lobbying interests around transportation industry and paying a little bit higher amount. The platform is that transportation investment is a good thing, and that is whether it's governments or people in that business or those that use roadways or rail or air to haul people and goods, the continued investment means continued economic growth. Had the privilege of this summer being appointed to that executive committee and co-chairing that initiative moving forward, and we have begun reaching out again to make sure the membership of Economic Lifelines matches geographically the state of Kansas, and that it represents the agencies, the full breadth of agencies and entities that would want to be part of something that advocated for transportation. So we just make you aware of that. You all can participate because KLPG, Commissioner Larry Jones serves on the executive committee of that, and they approved membership. So all of KLPG's members will have access to some discussions. We had one just last week with the Secretary of Transportation. Deputy Secretary ended up doing that piece, but we would encourage you to be active participants in that. If you choose to be active participants under the KLPG membership, that's great. If you think it's of value and you want your name added to the list of those that advocate for transportation, then you can hit me up and I'll let you know about membership dues to that. Historically, Benton County and Garden City have been involved in economic lifelines, and it'll be nice to get back to that point. It's part of your legislative platform. It's part of our legislative platform. It's part of the KLPG legislative platform. It's part of the Southwest Kansas Coalition, which is the 3 cities. It's part of that platform. Our chamber, our Economic Development Corporation. There isn't a legislative policy out in this part of the world that doesn't speak to transportation being one of the most important investments that we can continue making. So if you have any transportation things that you want brought up that aren't already articulated in your platforms, let me know, and we can certainly plug that into the Economic Lifelines discussion. Thanks.
Thank you.
Good. Commissioners, a couple of you.
I just reiterate what Matt said, that the transportation in this part of the country, we realize how important it is, because we have to travel a lot to go anywhere we want to go. You know, folks that live in this metro areas, they don't realize what transportation means to us out here, not only for personal use, but for our businesses. In our businesses, it's really important.
I saw the other day where Larry Thompson finally retired from KDOT after 56 years. And that's quite a tenure. So
it was.
Yeah.
So hopefully, when we get this grassroots with KLPG, which is most of western Kansas counties, we can have a little more sway with our legislators and speak. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, how John and Doug get along, lobbying along those lines. But
yeah,
doesn't hurt.
Doesn't hurt. That's right.
Matt, just a real quick question. When the notice came out, and I wasn't able to join that call the other day, but when the notice came out about that, I went to the Economic Lifelines website for a little bit and noticed a lot of cities are members, and of course you mentioned some of the companies and that type of thing. But the only county I saw as an individual, or not an individual member, but as a county member, was Douglas. So did I understand you correctly that there's more of a reach out to the counties to join as Douglas has?
Yes.
And I don't know if that list is updated or if it's up to date or not.
It's not as updated as, no, it's probably not updated as frequently. There's been a lot of effort just very recently to bring that back. I would say that mostly represents where we're moving from versus where we're moving, to. And, the idea would be that list would not only be more impressive down the road for its length, but also that it patterns the geographic boundaries of the state and not those urban hubs. It may be the case, though, down the road that in some counties, the invoiced name of the member might be, I don't know, Wallace County Chamber of Commerce or something like that, and that would sort of give access to everybody in Wallace County versus the county government doing it. Different counties will do it different ways, but it would be nice that, when you used to have the map on the wall and you put a pin wherever you vacationed or been, that you could pin the membership around the state and it would spread the entire geographic footprint of the state.
Yeah, not a criticism, just an observation. So.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Okay, John, finally, I'll let you come up. Appreciate it, your patience.
Are we about due for a break? Here comes. Poor old John.
You can have a break.
Off every time.
I'll just go on without you, maybe. Was the first updates on projects? I don't have any really update on Farmland Road. Seems like we were inspecting a lot of replacement septic systems and they had 2 or 3 of the new ones lately, last couple of weeks. Still working on plans for next year's asphalt projects, overlays, sealing, crack sealing. And just regular maintenance and lift station stuff on sewer districts, nothing too big recently. Jenny Barker Road, we'll probably start seeing a little more activity up there since we had 1 week off because of rain. They weren't able to work that whole week last week or week before. The Prime will be excavating the rest of the pavement on the closed section on the north end and start maybe doing some dirt work to grade it up, getting ready for concrete. They're still moving down the line with the water line replacement and storm sewer pipe. I think probably not this week, but the next, they should be getting into down far enough to hit Porterhouse, and then they'll run that storm sewer down the middle of Porterhouse, having to close that access to homes for just maybe a couple hours during the day as they move down the road. But everybody will have access, maybe limited during the day while they're in there. And we thinking 3-4 days to a week to get down through Porterhouse to the pump, to the retention pond. And we'll have a letter go out later, or when it gets closer to the time for them to do that. I think they're still working on the retention pond. It's pretty much, they say it's too great. They're just finishing up some details there. Really, that's about all. The utilities should be this week moved and tied into the fiber Cox and AT&T. They should, or Zayo's line. They should all be done this week, and you'll see the city start tearing down power poles next week. All that got rerouted, and so it's going through a different direction, so there won't be any power poles on that west side of the road anymore. And that's really pretty much the gist of Jenny Barker project. And I think my next one would be for the sewer district resolution for Mr. Harmon to tie into sewer. Last commission meeting, you approved, accepted the petition and approved the memo of understanding. So now it's just a resolution to make it all legal, and he's got easements already in hand. So he should be starting to schedule work with Tetro to install that.
That one is, oh, you have a number in front of you.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move to approve resolution 24-2020.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? We beat this pretty good last meeting. If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Start your copying along.
Yep.
Okay.
Farmland, John, where are we?
Why are we poking along so much here?
I don't know. Most of it's hanging up with or finalizing details with the attorney and the landowners. I think we should be, some of that all went to title work, has gone over to the title companies. We have three landowners that we're still hung up on
prices on what they want and what we want to give, I think, so. Somebody else's work, not mine, so I'm not, we've been pushing, asking them every week where we're at on, so, we will do that again this weekend.
Who's the attorney representative that's doing this, that's negotiating?
Grizel's, Randy Grizel, Jimmy Dummermuth from Randy Grizel's office is doing that for us.
Yeah, enough said, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's slow, but sometimes it seems slower than it should be, but that's me waiting instead of doing.
Anything further for John?
Today.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Guess we are ready for our executive session.
I'll offer the motion. How much time and who do you want included?
Just commissioners for probably at least start with 30 minutes.
Okay, I'll offer the motion that under pursuant to statute 75-4319, paragraph B1, that we go into executive session not to exceed 30 minutes to discuss non-elected personnel, and we'll reconvene in this room at no later than 11:25.
Second. Been moved and seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. All right. You gonna bring your stopwatch for me out?
Yeah.
official action taken.
Fine time, Larry.
Are we back in session?
We're back in session.
I opened it, yeah.
Did we turn the air conditioning on or the?
Got chilly in here, didn't
Freeze it in here.
You guys got cool. Bill, what's the deal?
Cold.
Probably need to follow that one up with another executive session to include our county administrator.
Can we do that today?
You want to do it today, you want to put it off?
That's what I'm asking you.
Let's get it done with, guys.
Okay.
That might be in harvest next time. Although my planter dude is getting unhappy with me. Let's call another executive session, include Robert, and go over his evaluation.
How much time do you want?
20 minutes max.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we go into executive session for discussion of non-elected personnel to include the commissioners and our administrator, Robert, not to exceed 20 minutes, which would mean that we would reconvene at about 11:50.
I'll second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Out of executive session, no action taken. Any commissioner have anything on Board of Governance they need to bring forth? Hearing nothing. Robert, your regular administrative updates, please.
We do need, we do have a joint meeting request with the city, both, this is, want to check availability for October 20th and November 3rd. They're both Tuesdays.
November 3rd is election day.
So is that a yes or no?
I won't be there November 3rd, not that I'm an important piece of that meeting, but that is election day, so.
There you are, you keep us all straight.
Yeah, are you guys meeting on?
You
election?
correct my verbiage.
Afternoon, I don't remember the time.
Like 11. 10:30 or 11.
October 20th, is that what you're leaning towards too, Matt, or? is
Maybe I
Matt-
don't want to work.
Sooner is probably
I mean,
better.
Pardon?
Sooner is probably better than later.
October 3rd works, October 3rd. October 20th works for me.
Let's just plan on the 20th then, if that
What time?
works.
11?
It's, we need to be concluded by,
Your meeting starts at 1, correct?
right, yeah, we just need to be concluded by about 12:30 or 12:45. I don't know what all agenda items that we'll have. We also invite the city of Holcomb, as you all well know. So if it's really only a couple of items, I think we could start at 10. Otherwise, historically, I think we've started maybe 10:30 when we have a longer agenda.
You said
10 o'clock,
10?
it is.
10:30.
I wrote down 11, so
Okay.
doesn't matter.
So 10:30 on the 20th?
At your place,
Yeah, well.
with a steak and baked potato.
Yep, yep. It won't be I promise you, it won't be the worst meal we've had. Thanks.
Yeah.
Who's covering the agenda for that?
City of Lee. I
Is
don't
that
think
you?
they fully developed the agenda.
Well,
We'll trade in emails, and if you have, we can have Sue Lynn send it out and give you a copy to push out for you.
I know one of the things the mayor wanted us to talk about this fall was fireworks.
I was
Yeah,
going to bring
Is
that
that
up.
one of the
Yes.
topics? Okay, good.
Yes,
I just wanted to make sure that was on
You have not forgotten either, huh?
That'll be our list, yeah.
No, because I get all the calls.
That's right, yeah, there's plenty of reminders out there that one won't fall through the cracks.
Fireworks, stray dogs, our favorite topic.
There you go.
Yeah, we have a couple county roads we'd like to talk to you about, you guys annexing those and getting them out of our hair.
Okay, they're 25 miles from the corporate limits, but we'll take that if you'd appreciate it, right? Okay.
All right, thanks, Matt.
The other thing that I had to note that hasn't been mentioned already is that I know this KAC is sending out information as it relates to wind energy and wind energy summits. And I know that there are some dates coming up. September 23rd from 9 to 12, October 20th, 9 to 12, and November 17th, 1 to 4, that you can participate in that if need be.
I don't plan to participate in those. Carla from Harper County, can't think of her last name now, participated in the one last week, and she said it was marginal on whether it was worthwhile or not, because it has a little bit of a sales pitch by the sponsor. But she said I did learn some things from it too. So, you know, she didn't totally discourage it, but didn't know how helpful it really was either. But it's mostly for those counties who do allow wind farms, and it's about wind farms and whether that type of energy is, what it'll do to tax base and so forth and so on. And so far in Finney County, we don't have wind farms.
We've got snakes, we don't qualify.
We have snakes and lesser prairie chickens. So.
We have the windmills, they just all the land down.
Yeah, that's what I told them the other day. I said, we got the storage, but we don't have the farms.
And that is all I have. Everything else is pretty Must be covered this morning.
Start with you, Larry.
The only thing I have is we had a walkthrough of the JDC on the new child in need of care. And we've changed the nomenclature again. What do they call it now?
That is the shelter. Yes.
Child security.
Yeah, child shelter.
Well,
Yeah.
secure care is something they're
Secure-
considering.
Yeah.
That's not what we're doing now.
Yeah. Anyway, the states, we're still waiting on the state so we can get some clients. That's all I've got to report.
Friday, spent some time out in the southwest part of the county, checking out Parallel Road and Christ Road. They're in good shape right now, but always an issue. I think it might be an agenda item for us for the future, looking at road improvements, particularly Parallel. Robert and I had a nice discussion on Friday about some of the things going on in the county. I was on the Economic Lifelines conference call, which I thought was quite valuable, and I'm glad KOPG has joined up. I did miss the zoo dedication due to a short deadline. I don't know if that was on the city side or on the county side, but I view us as partners with the city on anything related to the sales tax. So I would like us to be part of in future opportunities like groundbreakings and dedications and ribbon cuttings with as much notice as possible. Because I was just trapped by the short deadline or short notice. That's all I have.
We had a Great Plains meeting again. Their plate is getting really full. Lots of applications coming into Great Plains for business, new businesses and additions too. Other than that, several visits with Robert and Jeff over Horse Parks stuff. Other than that, Dave?
I don't have much, Mr. Chairman. We did have the county Republican meeting. I appreciated the invitation and the remarks. I had as I mentioned previously, a Finney County Committee on Aging meeting, and not anything exciting there, except as I have related the transportation part, trying to scurry around and find who can provide required training for their drivers. And I still feel that our emergency management work safety section can help there some way. And so I visited with Robert and Steve. That's in process. Attended the planning commission. It was a 8-minute meeting. And the only thing we have coming out of that is out the way camps way out east, almost into Grayson County, are dividing off a parcel of about not quite 7 acres so that a son can replace a mobile home with a home, and that'll be routine. And then the library board meeting is tonight at 5 p.m. if anybody's interested. That's it.
John?
Several things, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I was asked to serve on a panel for the behavioral health annual meeting for the state. It was a Zoom meeting, and Becky Fast, Johnson County Commissioner, and myself were the two. They had a third one lined up, but that person didn't show up on the Zoom. But it was how counties value mental health organizations, and there's either 3 or 4 counties in the state, one being Johnson County, that have their own mental health organization within the county structure. Every other county contracts with organizations like Compass, so they were trying to get different perspectives. And I was able to take that opportunity to tell them how KAC has several platforms in our legislative policy related to mental health. We did have a KAC board meeting in Salina this past Friday, in person and by Zoom, depending on who wanted to be there. And the main thing from that is that the annual conference is by Zoom, and if you don't have it on your calendar, October 13th at 10 in the morning or 10:30 is the legislative policy approval, but on the 14th is the more important day. The governor will be on the Zoom call at 9 or 9:30, and then there's a thing at 1 and 2. There's not really any educational sessions, but there's going to be several sessions by Zoom. There is absolutely no fee this year for the Zoom annual meeting. So any of us can participate without traveling if we want to. There'll be an email coming out about this this week, but it's in your county comments newsletter that you should have received last week. And the one thing about that is, and I got ahead of myself when I sent an email to Dory the other day, but I pulled this out of the pass around. We absolutely have to have a delegate designated by the clerk, and we can list 2 alternates, the first alternate and second alternate. I don't mind being the delegate. I have been for the last several years, but they're going to have voting, and I don't know even now how the format's going to be, but it's only by delegates to vote on the legislative policy on October 13th. So if you don't mind me being the delegate, and then if somebody else wants to be as first and second, then Dory can submit this form for Finney County. So
I'll be an alternate.
Okay.
I'd offer a motion that way.
Not me.
Delegate, alternate, you want to be an alternate? Okay. Delegate there, alternate there, that's my motion.
Okay, we're doing
Second.
the motion. Okay.
I like the motion. All in favor of Dave's motion?
Aye.
Then on the zoo projects, I did attend that ribbon cutting, and I agree with Bill. There needs to be a little bit more advance notice on those things, but I was able to get there. It was very nicely done by the zoo staff. The one thing I wasn't aware of was the new carousel that's down there, this is not a criticism at all, but I think it was featured in the Telegram or on Facebook or something. I saw something afterward, but that was donated to the zoo, and that's a very nice addition to that area as well. Then the mayor spoke earlier about the state of the city, and that's going to be at the October 14th chamber breakfast, and Matt and the mayor will be presenting that. That's a week earlier than normal. Normally, chamber breakfasts are the 3rd Wednesday of each month. They've been back in person 2 months now with distancing and so forth at Clarion. So the program starts at 7:30. They start serving at 7:10, and I would encourage us all to be there. It's $12, I think, if we pay ahead, and $14 if we pay at the door. The Sewer District 3 billings did go out. I'm getting comments about that. Nothing, I'm not getting 50 comments or anything, but I did attend our HOA meeting last week, and there were just basically the board members there. There weren't other residents at that meeting, but I asked them if they wanted to go to monthly bill or annual bill. They want the annual billing to stay in place. If we can do monthly billing for some of the residents and do that, if the county can absorb that, fine. But the sentiment was we want to keep the annual billing for sure, no matter what other billing time frame there might be. And then I don't know if Larry mentioned KLPG annual is the 30th of September. I've been asked by the executive committee to speak about the broadband thing for a little bit, so I'll be tuning in for part of that at least. But that's on September 30th.
Dory, did they send you a registration thing? I guess you all registered. I haven't heard anything.
I have not heard anything from KLPG.
I don't know about registration. I just know Doug asked me to be available to speak a little bit on broadband.
I haven't heard anything about registration.
I sent one email out earlier, and I registered, but I just figured that if since it's virtual, well, everybody signs up.
Well, but they only have so many seats on their Zoom, like for the annual meeting for KAC, for example, they've got 500 seats available.
See,
So that's why you have to have a registration to make sure you don't go over your seat limit.
maybe you better touch base with Doug or John, see what they say. Or either one of you.
Yeah. So, Mr. Chairman, that's the end of my report.
Okay, anything else, fellas? We're adjourned.
Good job there, Mr. Chairman.
He was a lot today.
Well, it's go time.